My ex-husband cheated on me with my sister. And 6 years later, he wrote me a letter. I am 33 years old. When I was 18, I met my ex-husband, Dan. He is now 40 years old. I met him at a restaurant where I was celebrating my birthday. He was very kind, charming, and mature. He made me feel loved and special. For context, I grew up in a troubled family. My parents were constantly arguing. Sometimes my father would leave and not return for months. He passed away when my sister, Abby, was born. Abby is now 25 years old. From birth, our mother was too attached to Abby and not to me. Abby was literally pampered from infancy. Our mother didn't ignore me. She always tried to be a good mother and provided for me, but I still felt like something was missing. After Dan came into my life, that feeling disappeared. He supported me, was caring, constantly gave me gifts, and took me on long walks. I felt complete when I was with him. We got married after 4 years of dating. I wanted to start a family immediately, but Dan insisted that I first finish my master's degree and build a career. He wanted us to be financially stable before thinking about children. Honestly, he was the best man I could have imagined. 5 years into our happy marriage, I discovered that my husband was cheating on me with my sister. I found out when Dan came up with an excuse that he was leaving town for a week, but actually stayed in the city and rented a hotel room where he and Abby could meet. This had been going on behind my back for 6 months. I was horrified. Abby and I had been close since childhood. I loved her and cared for her as much as she could, so how could she do this to me? After everything came to light, Dan and I had a huge fight. I asked him how he could do such a thing, especially with my sister, who had just turned 19. He said he no longer loved me, that I wasn't giving him enough attention, and that I was no longer the girl he fell in love with. Amidst all this, I discovered I was pregnant, but due to the stress, I lost the baby. He didn't even want to visit me in the hospital when I lost our child. During that time, he was resting with my sister. I should have noticed the signs. Abby was always too affectionate with Dan, and he sometimes looked at her in a way that felt wrong. It's all still incredibly painful. As usual, my mother took Abby's side and told me to just accept it. I wanted to take a flight to escape because I had no one left. I lost my baby, my husband, and my entire family. But my best friend, Tina, my salvation, came to my aid. She was moving to another state and offered me to go with her. I agreed. At that moment, I was already divorced, and we lived in a small town, so I naturally encountered my ex-husband and sister. It took me time to settle into my new place, but I met kind people there, which helped me heal some of my traumas. However, I still have trust issues. I met my current husband, Tony, who is 32 years old, about a year after moving. I became very cautious and kept my guard up, but he showed me that he was trustworthy and loved me deeply. I was so happy with him that I almost forgot the life I left behind in my hometown. His parents turned out to be very warm and generous people. We got married a year ago, and now I am pregnant with our first child. Yesterday, I received a letter from my ex-husband, Dan. It brought back all the bad memories. In his letter, he wrote that he misses me and tried to find me but couldn't. He is doing very poorly with my sister. She is very foolish and doesn't care for him as I do. I used to bake cakes for him and organize birthday parties, but Abby just wished him a happy birthday without bothering to buy a cake. She is very rude and doesn't respect him, always sitting in bars with friends. He also mentioned that she has cheated on him 5 times, with the last affair being with his cousin. Our mother also doesn't stop her. Dan is soon going to file for divorce, but lately he misses me a lot and wants us to try to reconcile, to become a family again as we were before. Since I don't have social networks except for Instagram, where my profile is private, He probably doesn't know that I'm married and that I'm soon going to have a child. I don't know if I should feel sorry for him or just laugh because, in the end, where we are, things turned out very badly. So write in the comments, what do you think should happen? Should the heroine respond to him in a positive and kind manner, or just send him away? Now, the first update. I decided to send him a letter to put an end to this. It looks like this. Dan, I'm sorry to hear that you're suffering, but I will never be with you again. Once, I was the girl who would have accepted you without hesitation, but that girl is no longer here. She died the day I had a miscarriage. You were somewhere with my sister. I called you, but you didn't answer. Now, I am married to a wonderful person who loves and values me, and I am pregnant with our first child. I am starting a new chapter of my life with someone I love deeply and care about. So please, never contact me again. You made your choice. You chose my barely 19-year-old sister over me. I don't care if you cheated or don't respect her. Someone like you doesn't deserve loyalty or respect. I left my old life in my old town. It's better for you to move on and think about your life. Goodbye. Second update. You all have given me incredible support in this situation. I must admit that I feel very mentally exhausted. But besides that, I feel much better than I expected after just 6 weeks. I have a question about my soon-to-be ex-wife's current behavior. Is it normal for her to treat everyone around her like trash, except for Elle and probably her parents? Obviously, she treats me terribly. She shows zero respect towards me and behaves as if I were the worst husband in the world. She claims that she has been unhappy for several years, and in my opinion, that's complete nonsense. In any case, honestly, I no longer care what she does to me. She is destroying her life, not mine. But it also affects other people. My father sent her the kindest message he has ever written in his life, and she didn't even respond to it, just ignored it. After my mother's death in February last year, my wife often took my father with her to a nearby amusement park. Both of them had memberships, and went there quite often. My father really loved her, and now I'm literally watching him age before my eyes, and it hurts me. My wife didn't even bother to thank him. She just ignored his message. She also said she wants to stay good friends with my younger sister, but they haven't been in contact for several weeks. Moreover, my wife was supposed to spend a day with her best friend, who is also our mutual friend, but now she just ignores her. Her best friend sent several messages yesterday to find out if their meeting went well, but my wife didn't respond. She didn't even read the messages or answer the phone. Today, they were supposed to meet. The same story. She just doesn't answer calls. Her best friend sent another message asking if she would come, but she received no response. She didn't even read the message, although her WhatsApp status shows that she was online after receiving these messages. As you can understand, her best friend cried all day. She specifically took a day off to spend time with my wife, go shopping, have fun, and ended up getting this. Is such behavior normal for someone whose head is spinning from cheating, or is it something else? Honestly, I don't care anymore what my wife does to her. I wash my hands of it, but she treated her best friend terribly. She cried all day on her couch because of my wife's ignoring her. While I'm writing all this, another question comes to mind. Although it seems I already know the answer, my soon-to-be ex-wife tells people that we broke up because we fell out of love with each other, and that she had been unhappy for several years. I suppose it's quite normal for a cheater to come up with fake excuses and not be honest with others about what really happened to avoid looking bad. Oh right, I almost forgot something that I think is really important. Her best friend, our mutual acquaintance, lived with us for about 6 months from November 2021 to April 2022. She had just left a very toxic relationship and had nowhere to live, so we housed her as we had a free room in our house. So, my wife and her best friend discussed literally everything, including our relationship and intimate life, down to the smallest details. I communicate with this friend every day, and she behaves very sincerely and honestly towards me. I asked her if my wife ever said anything about being unhappy in the marriage for a long time. She said that's a lie, never. My wife never said anything about it, never mentioned being unhappy or complained about our marriage. And yet, they discussed literally everything, which means either my soon-to-be ex-wife is openly lying now, and I don't know why, maybe to justify her cheating, or she was hiding her unhappy feelings from everyone except herself. Honestly, I don't know, but based on my experience, I never noticed her being unhappy around me, and her friend agrees with this. I sincerely hope that karma catches up with my wife as soon as possible. Everyone who asks me why we're getting a divorce, I tell the truth, that she's a selfish cheater. Yesterday, our mutual friend showed me a conversation between her and my wife. The conversation went something like this. Friend: "Oh my God, honey, is it true that you and your husband have split up?" Wife: "Yes, unfortunately it's true." Friend: "Oh God, no. What happened?" Wife: "You know, we just fell out of love with each other over the past few years and have different life goals. We decided to part ways." Of course, I told my friend that this is complete nonsense. I said that my wife cheated on me, fell in love with her colleague, and left with another man. Everyone who hears the truth from me is shocked. No one, including me, would have ever thought that my wife was capable of such a thing. Third update. So far, everything is normal. As soon as I knew that my wife was living her life without me, I started doing the same. I talked to my soon-to-be ex-wife several times and came to the conclusion that she still loved me, but she got bored in the marriage. There's nothing surprising about that since my mother unexpectedly died in February. She claimed she's in love with Elle, but without any commitments. I never noticed her being unhappy with me, and she even said that she was unhappy not with me but in general. Essentially, I believe what happened is that she cheated on me, developed feelings for Elle, and left him. When I realized this, I decided to let her go and focus on myself. At the moment, honestly, I don't care what she does or whether she returns. I will be fine regardless. At work, everything is excellent. I joined a gym and go there 3 times a week. My muscles hurt, but it's even pleasant. I started talking to a wonderful girl I've known since childhood, and although we're just friends, I'm very happy to have a friend with whom I can talk about everything. She lost her father last year, so even on the topic of losing a loved one, we can understand each other. As for the divorce, we needed to gather numerous documents, and they have already been sent to the mediator. Now we are waiting for feedback to schedule the next meeting. At this point, I have decided that the divorce will take place. Whether my soon-to-be ex-wife returns or not no longer matters because our marriage is over. Fourth update. 4 days later, we will sign the divorce papers and officially complete this process. This post will be long since I haven't written an update for about 4 months. During this time, I made several mistakes, but also took steps that helped me regain my strength and self-respect. 5 months after everything that happened and the initial shock, I can say that my wife's cheating barely occupies my thoughts and no longer affects me. So, for everyone going through a tough time, please believe that it will get easier over time after infidelity and separation. After our breakup, I made mistakes. I begged her, tried to negotiate, got angry, felt disappointed, and completely lost control of my emotions. It seemed like my wife had gone crazy. Unfortunately, this lasted for about 2 months, but then I decided to stop complaining. I told her that I had thought about everything for a long time and concluded that I was still open to communication and possibly reconciliation, but I also said that I couldn't guarantee anything. For the last 3 months, I haven't contacted her regarding our relationship. The only messages I sent were about the divorce, financial matters, or our shared house. But during all this time, I wasn't just sitting still. Now I am 32 years old, and for the first time in my life, I started going to the gym and working on my body, specifically building muscles, as I was always quite skinny. I go to the gym on a schedule, train 4 times a week, and have been doing so for 3 months. I also noticed improvements in my physical shape and appearance, but it's not just about physical form. The gym also helps me mentally. Initially, I started training to keep myself busy and distracted, but now, 3 months later, I look better and feel much more confident. I'm gaining self-confidence I never knew I had. Advice of the day. When you're going through a tough time, the gym really helps both physically and mentally. As for our shared house, I talked to the bank and got the opportunity to take out an additional loan. I will have to pay my soon-to-be ex-wife about $65,000, but I can do that after signing all the documents and paying her. I will become the sole owner of our house, which is worth about $300,000. I'm not too happy about having to pay her $65,000, but in the long run, I will be in a much better position owning a home worth about 5 times that amount. Moreover, she now has no home. Officially, she lives with her mother again, but I know she often stays with Elle. I don't keep in touch with her. So how do I know this? I'll explain now. We have a mutual friend. We never hung out all together, but we regularly communicate. As far as I know, my ex-wife left me for Elle and almost immediately dove headfirst into a new relationship. I don't know what's going on between them, but sometimes it seems like she has truly lost her mind. I try not to think about her, but sometimes thoughts take me where they shouldn't go. At the moment, I think I could call Elle her boyfriend because, in fact, that's what he is now. As for Elle and my ex-wife, karma has already started working. When my ex-wife and Elle just started dating 5 months ago, it seemed like everything was fine. However, the situation is beginning to change. Elle is now sitting at home and battling depression. I know this for sure because our mutual friend showed me screenshots of conversations between my ex-wife and him. Additionally, Elle doesn't have a job right now, even when it all just started. Despite the pain and shock from the cheating, I always felt that I was better than him because he has neither morals nor principles. I already considered him worthless compared to me, and now I have confirmation, which makes me think that my ex-wife has simply lost her mind. I don't want to sound arrogant, but I am absolutely sure that I am a better match and a much better man than her Elle. A small addition, at the very beginning of their relationship, I still maintained contact with her and warned her about the consequences. So, it seems I was right. He turned out to be exactly the loser I thought he was. But the worst part is what he brought into her life, what can destroy her. He is literally digging his own grave. Elle introduced her to harsh medications. I know this from our mutual friend. I haven't talked to her about it. If she wants to destroy her life, that's her business, but it seems the situation is rapidly spiraling out of control. As for my ex-wife, I'm sure she's struggling. She might even doubt her decisions. We didn't talk or see each other during the holidays, Christmas and New Year. However, about a week after New Year's in 2023, she unexpectedly sent me a message asking if I was home and if she could come over. She came to my house, and her visit was brief, only about 5 minutes. She came to tell me she spent Christmas alone, crying, and wanted to know how my holidays went and asked how I was doing. I replied that my Christmas went fine, but not perfect. I lost my mother last year, and those were the first holidays without her. So of course, everything was just normal, but nothing more. However, I told her that I was doing great, and that's true. For me, it was strange. The only explanation that comes to mind is that she might have regrets. time will tell. I also talked to her mother. My ex-mother-in-law called me after New Year's to wish me happy holidays and all the best. I must admit, I wasn't expecting that call, but it was nice to hear her since she had been part of my family for the past 8 years. My mother-in-law told me that my ex-wife is not doing very well right now. According to her, she is very sad, often crying and mourning the end of the marriage. My ex-wife even told her mother, "I didn't want it to be like this." And again, it makes me think that she has doubts. However, only she can take the first step to change something, and so far, she hasn't done that. All I could do was grant her the divorce she wanted, leave her, and stay away from her, which I did. I removed myself from her life, gave her the divorce, and every day I work on becoming better. 4 days later, we will sign the divorce papers and officially end this process. This post will be long since I haven't written an update for about 4 months. During this time, I made several mistakes, but also took steps that helped me regain my strength and self-respect. 5 months after everything that happened and the initial shock, I can say that my wife's cheating barely occupies my thoughts and no longer affects me. In conclusion, I want to thank everyone once again. A huge thank you. Without your support, I wouldn't be where I am now, both mentally and physically. Make sure to write in the comments what you think about this story. Personally, it's hard for me to give a clear assessment of the author. I don't know if it's foolishness or wisdom that he still seems to want to reconcile with his ex-wife. On one hand, why did she cheat on him, and she might cheat again? On the other hand, why not? In any case, the person is clearly generous, ready to forgive even infidelity. At least that's how it feels to me. Maybe I'm wrong. In general, write your opinion. At the expense of this story, you can also share yours in the comments. It will be interesting to read. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Your support is very important to me. Take care of yourself.